All right, so now we are on G2 is all about shapes. So right here for G2, let's just go ahead and write that this is lesson 2. Today we're learning about triangles. So a triangle is a shape with 3 angles. Okay, if it has 3 angles, it is going to be 180 degrees, just so you have that in mind. But when we are classifying triangles, there is 2 ways we can do it. So we can do it based on sides, okay, or we can do it based on the angles. So for the sides, the 3 choices we have are scalene. Scalene triangles have no equal sides. So none of the sides, and if we're talking about equal, we're talking about length. So up here, let's just put a little star, and we're gonna put that this is based on length. Isosceles, they have 2 equal sides. So on this one, we're talking about this one and this one. You can see the little marks here that show they are equal. And then equilateral, you can see this part. And remember, you learned that lateral means side. And then equa, of course, our good friend, that means equal. So on this one, it would look like this because equilateral has all 3 sides equals. Oh, I forgot up here. Triangle has 3 angles. And then, of course, because of that, they usually always have 3 sides, okay? Now, so again, this is based on the sides. Over here, we can also classify based on angles. And again, this is about the degrees. So if you want to put that there, that tells you degrees, right? So an acute triangle has all acute angles, all. So you cannot have an acute triangle that has one obtuse angle. You cannot. So acute, they all have to be less than 90, okay? You can have obtuse triangles that have one obtuse angle, meaning they have one angle that is greater than 90. So for this one, it would be obtuse. Now, a good thing to know, if you have one obtuse, the other 2 are going to be acute, okay? So these are acute, this one is obtuse. Now, a right angle has one angle that is exactly 90. When you do that, the other 2 also have to be acute, okay? So we are going to use the information presented in these diagrams to talk about what they could be, okay? Because if you're classifying a triangle, they could have a side characteristic and an angle characteristic, okay? Now, what I am going to do to make this easier, what you should do with your boom cards, you're not going to do this right now, obviously, is you can use this to help you, right, on your orange page, so go ahead and take a look. So we have this one and all the sides are the same length. So if they're all, you can see it tells us here, that's one way to show it is by telling us the measure. So those are going to be equilateral. Now, if they're all equal, they also tend to be acute because if you look at, you can see that all of these are the same. And so if they're all the same, usually what that means is that they're 60 degrees on an acute triangle. If they're, well, really always, if they're all the same, they would be 60. And so because we know that 60 times 3 equals 180. So that's the measure of a triangle always. So it would be an acute triangle, okay? Now, looking at this one, it looks like, so this side, right? We're going to do the sides first, is a bit longer, but then these 2 are the same. So this would be an isosceles triangle because we have these 2 are the same and then this one is different. That's how we show that, okay? Now on this side, we have a 40, a 40, and 100. 100 is obtuse, right? It's bigger. So that means this one has to be obtuse. Obtuse only has one one obtuse angle bigger than 90. And if you look here, we have these 2 40s. So those would be acute. So remember I told you, usually when you have an obtuse angle, you're also going to have 2 acute angles, okay? Oh my goodness, this is going to be an easy peasy. So you can see that these 2 are the same, again, with the length, and then you have one longer one. So we have 1, 1, and 2. So you're going to see a lot of isosceles triangles. And then over here, we do have our friendly neighborhood right angle right there. Remember, whenever we see that box. So I'm going to mark it right there. And then right here, okay, we have 3 equal sides. So that means that it's going to be an equilateral. And when that happens, we're going to have acute because they're also Usually equilateral has all the angles the same as well, which means that they're going to have that little, they're all going to be the same, and they're all going to be that, probably that 60 times 3. Okay, let's look at the sides on this one. So we have a 5, a 15, and 11. So we have 3 different sides, which means it is scalene because they're all different. And then in terms of the angles, okay, this one almost looks right. I can't really tell, so I'm gonna grab a Post-it, because remember, we don't always have so if I line up the one side, oh, it's bigger than 90. Bigger than 90. So that means it's obtuse right here. Okay, which means that these are gonna be acute, but that makes it an obtuse triangle. Okay, so you just basically look at, are we talking about sides or are we talking about angles? And that helps you narrow down, you can usually have a measure of each. So you usually can tell, is it scalene, isosceles, equilateral, which has to do with sides, or is it acute, obtuse, or right?